The Office for Budget Responsibility has slammed the UK's economic outlook and warned debt is set to soar over the coming decades. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, has warned that Rachel Reeves's latest U-turns on spending cuts have left Britain more vulnerable and less able to respond to future crises. The OBR published a new report on the vulnerability of the public finances, warning that the UK's debt-to-GDP ratio is set to surge from 100% today to a whopping 270% by the early 2070s. It slams successive governments, arguing that efforts to put the country's finances onto a more sustainable footing in recent years have been met with only limited and temporary success. However, Ms. Reeves has come under fire over her handling of the economy, and recent spending U-turns on winter fuel payments and welfare. The report says the UK has been hit hard by the dual shocks of the COVID pandemic and energy crisis, and that the government has responded, relatively generously by international standards, when spending money to bail out voters during these crises. It adds, but in the aftermath of the shocks, debt has also continued to rise and borrowing remained elevated because governments have reversed plans to consolidate the public finances. Planned tax rises have been reversed, and, more significantly, planned spending reductions have been abandoned. The OBR says this failure has substantially eroded the government's capacity to respond to future shocks and crises, such as another pandemic or global recession. Even more worryingly, it argues that voters have rising expectations about what the Chancellor can and should do in response to threats. They may therefore be underprepared to deal with a government that cannot afford to introduce costly schemes like furlough or energy price bailouts. Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride said, while working families are tightening their belts, Labour have lost control of the public finances. The OBR's report lays bare the damage. Britain now has the third highest deficit and the fourth highest debt burden in Europe, with borrowing costs among the highest in the developed world.